Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm here today to give some advice on what to do if you're suffering from an algae bloom and or a bacteria bloom. I suffered from both when my 45-gallon used to be a freshwater tank, and it took me forever to find a solution. But here are some things that I did that were able to work that I want to share with you guys. After being away from my tank for just one weekend, I came back and it looked like this. Horrible, right? Well, I couldn't figure out what the problem was, so I did some research, and out of all the years that I've had freshwater tanks, I had never seen anything like it. I had my first algae bloom. I had my service guy come over and he recommended a water change. So we did that, but then the next day, my tank was green again. So then he recommended a larger water change. He came back, we changed more of it, and my tank was still green the following day. We couldn't figure it out, and so then we started to wonder, well, what are other reasons that my tank could be green? We even thought maybe it's the coloring from my plastic plants that were in my tank somehow rubbing off in the water. We couldn't seem to work it out. I also went online and did some research and found that a lot of people suffering from this use the UV sterilizer, and most people use the green killing machine that you can find at your local PetSmart, Petco, or possibly on Amazon. Upon using this, I realized that it really wasn't doing anything. I was really disappointed because I felt like I wasted $60 to still have green coloring in my tank. After dealing with this problem for weeks, I decided to take drastic measures into my own hands. I realized that there could be algae on the glass or somewhere in the rocks, and maybe I just need to drain it and wipe my entire tank down and put my livestock in a temporary tank while I did this. So that's exactly what I did. Upon draining the water down to about 1.5 inches from the bottom, I then started to scrape all the rocks out, and upon doing that, voila, that's when I realized where the algae was coming from. There was an entire layer underneath my rocks that we couldn't see. Despite us siphoning the rocks, despite us doing water changes, we had no idea that there was like literally an entire bed of algae, which was creating more growth every time we changed the water. So once I took the rocks out, I made sure to rinse them off and scrub them before putting them back in. And I also drained the entire tank and wiped out everything completely, so I was essentially starting over as a brand new tank. I put everything back in, and here's a photo of what it looked like. Now my water was gray. It was no longer green, but then I realized, okay, I'm suffering from a bacteria bloom. I then plugged back in the UV sterilizer since the green killing machine works for that as well, and I realized that within hours my water started to get clear. I then waited about 2 or 3 days and my water was crystal clear. So finally I had great use for the product and a good feeling that it does work, and that it probably didn't work for my algae bloom because I had so much algae at the bottom that it probably just wasn't really accessing through its own filtration. So I say all this to say that if you're struggling from an algae bloom, before you freak out, before you go buy the thing, make sure that you rinse your rocks, rinse any sort of decoration that could be in there where there could be algae growth or bacteria, and also check the bottom of your tank underneath your rocks and make sure that there isn't a bed of algae like I had, so that you're not wasting any extra time, money, or stress over it like I was. And then also, check out the UV sterilizer that I bought in case you're ever dealing with that or a bacteria bloom, because it did work and I absolutely love it. Here's a video of what my tank looked after everything was clear. So that's all I have to say for now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned till the next time.